Is this video long? Yes. Was it meant to be this long? No. My original goal was for a 10 to 15 minute video, but I seem to have overdone it a little bit. Either way, this is my killer tier list. I also did a little smasher pass at the end of each killer's tier, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the tier list that I made and yapped about for about 40 minutes. Obviously, skip to the killer you want to hear from the most if you don't want to watch the entire video. If you do watch the entire video, I thank you for watching it, and I hope you enjoy. Today, we are making a tier list. My goal is to make this as quick and efficient as possible, meaning I might stutter and be bad at English about 532 times in this video. This tier list is for people who have good knowledge about the game. Anyone who does not know much about DBD might get confused since I won't explain how a killer works completely. There are other YouTubers who explain how they work, and I can point you their way if necessary. But now, let's get into my tier list. For me, killer tiers are determined based on their skills in chase, map/gen pressure, ability to tunnel, how strong their power is, how well they perform against coordinated Swifts or gen efficient teams, as well as how dependent they are with add-ons/maps. Occasionally, tiers will be based on how fun they are to play as well. Of course, we gotta start the video with Twappa, also known as Evan. And I think we all know this. D tier. Pretty easy, not very good in chase, very dependent on RNG like trap spawns, where gens spawn, survivors getting stuck in traps, meaning it's random if and when they get out of the trap. It takes one smart survivor to ruin the game for him, so simply he's D tier. Also, Smash. Secondly, we have Philip, Wraith. I debated between B or C tier, but I eventually decided to give him just C tier. He has amazing add-ons in each rarity above brown, many different playstyles he can do like hit and run, defending 3 gens, or even endgame Wraith. He's adaptable and easy for everyone to play, and also not very map dependent. The downside, not a great tunneler. All killers can tunnel a survivor at 3 gens, but it always depends on how the rest of the team is pressuring gens. Good teams can punish this killer for tunneling if they are uninterrupted, which leads to my next point, which is the fact that he struggles against coordinated teams. This includes hit tanking, as well as the inability to surprise people if his position is revealed. He's decent in chase, but if the survivor knows what they're doing, the down can take a long time. Pass. The bell would get a little annoying doing things with him. Next we have Hillbilly. I debated between A or B tier, and I know that's very unpopular. A lot of people really think he's S tier. I don't think he's S tier. I debated between A or B, and originally I was going to go with B, but after some thinking, I did indeed put him in A tier. He has great movement, which allows for gen pressure across the map. His insta-down makes for quick chases. Downside is he can be outplayed on small loops. He's very add-on dependent. Most Billy mains run eerie engravings, which is the only way to really outplay small loops. Without engravings and without bamboozle, this guide is not as good. Indoor maps also play a big role. He's a lot worse there, especially on maps like Larry's. Personally, I think he's very loopable, but that's just me. I will say he's the most fun killer to play as and against, which is a really good trait to have for killers. Also, Smash. Number 4, Nurse. Not much really needs to be said. Best killer in the game, uncounterable in chase, not too hard to learn. I feel like I need to play her with no perks because if I feel like I play with perks, I feel like the game is just so easy. So easy S tier and also hard pass. Next up, Michelle. I debated between A or B tier, but I decided to put him B tier. Why did I debate A tier? Well, his buff a few months back make tier 3 so easy to get. Tier 3 vaults are insane in chase, whether it's without bamboozle, with bamboozle, other vaulting perks like Unbound, obsession builds like play with your food, along with obsession changing perks like friends till the end, furtive chase. These make him impossible to loop at times because he can be just so fast. He can camp the hook very easily with his stalk and make trades/tunneling a lot easier. I think he's very fun to play as well. I also think he's stronger without Tombstone Infinite tier 3 now, which makes him a lot better because he's not as add-on dependent. The downside, a survivor who plays very safe and drops all pallets early can delay the first down for a while, and he can only be in one place at one time, unlike the S tier killers who can traverse the map very quickly. Indoor maps make it harder to stalk and trade hooks with stalking on tier 3. Because I think he is slightly dependent on perks and not necessarily able to win the game consistently with power alone, I think he's B tier. Smash. Next is Hag. I like to call her the greedy and grandma. I usually don't say it a lot in games, but that's how I feel about her. She joins her other trap mate, D tier. Basically the same reasons as Trapper besides survivors getting stuck in traps. If survivors avoid the basement against her, it's pretty easy to win against her most times, especially since she's slower and smaller, and when you're smaller, you have less of a lunge. Pass. Next up, we have Doctor, also known as Herman. He is, for me, C tier. He is good in chase. He has a decent ability to find survivors without using perks with the static blast. The downside is, downs can take a while if a survivor is playing on the small loop because Doctor will have to shock them a bunch, which slows him down for a few seconds. He also can't pressure multiple places at once like movement killers, and then a coordinated / gen efficient Swift or just regular gen efficient teams should be able to beat Doctors most of the time. Plus, if you give hit tanks against him, it can be really hard for him to tunnel anybody out. Smash. Next up is Huntress, also known as Hannah by most of the community. I debated between A or B tier because I think she's just that good in chase, but I decided to go with B tier. Like I said, she's pretty good in chase. Not great, but does make Shaq hard to loop if played correctly and patiently. She can camp very easily with hatchets, which leads to effective tunnels. Her long distance hatchets also have to be respected by survivors because if you're not paying attention, an orbital could come in and all of a sudden you've given her a free injury. Add-ons like Wood Fox is a game changer, but she's not necessarily dependent upon it. It's just a really good add-on. The downside to Huntress. She is very dependent on perks for knowledge since she can't run around the map fast enough to find survivors. Coordinated teams can give calls to allow themselves to pre-run a gen if she approaches, meaning the down can take a lot longer since she has to go catch up. Map dependent as well because indoor maps like Larry's and some outdoor maps with a ton of trees make it easier for survivors to lose line of sight, meaning hatchets are harder to hit. Smash. Bubba! He's going along with Doctor and Wraith, unfortunately. Very fun killer to go against as survivors, but there's a reason for that. He does have an insta-down, which makes him a lot better in chase than some of the D tier killers. Jumping lockers against him is harder now. If he tantrums on the locker, it's harder to time because they updated that like a while back. He's good at camping, especially the basement, which in turn can make him a good tunneler, especially since teammates can't take hits. The downside, he can't traverse the map quickly, meaning he can't apply much pressure without the use of tunneling. He's very dependent on perks like Bamboozle as well as maps like Larry's or RPD because they suck for collision. So if he gets those maps, he's likely not going to win as much. And he's also very dependent on the size of the maps. If he gets a big map, it's like the same thing with Huntress or any other M1 killer. You can pre-run him and make it a lot harder to get downs. Smash. Next up is Frederick. This is probably an unpopular opinion, but I think he's all the way up here. Since his rework in January of 2025, he has been the deadliest killer in the game if you look at the stats. He has the highest kill rate. His chase is amazing with dream snares, putting survivors to sleep and then slowing them down, and then you can't vault windows fast because if you are hindered, you can only medium vault thanks to the snares. He can teleport across the map to interrupt gens or survivors healing if they are asleep. Survivors who have to wake up have to take time to wake up, which would take time away from doing gens. Tunneling wise, if teammates try to give the tunneled survivor a hit, he can lose collision using his snares, which allows him to walk through the hit tanking survivor and slow down the tunneled survivor, which can lead to an easier down and kill. He may not move fast like the other S tier killers, but his power is so great in chase, I don't think he needs to, and with the ability to teleport across the map, I just think he is a really, really good killer now, and I think he has actually worked his way up to S tier. Pass. Next up, Amanda. We are on the opposite spectrum of Freddy. She is down here. Very dependent on add-ons and maps. For example, how many times does everyone go against piggies who bring themselves to Midwich or another indoor map with the wall hack add-on? I don't know why I couldn't find my vocabulary there. The wall hack add-on. If a survivor is patient with her power, it's very easy to delay a hit. Her not knowing where jigsaw boxes are also hinder her ability to pressure head trap survivors. I'm pretty sure I play more piggies that send me to indoor maps than I do piggies that let the game decide because she's just not that great with power and her stealth is kind of counterable on outdoor maps. The one good thing is that she's hard to pre-run against because she can be stealthy, allowing for easier first hits. The second hit is the problem. Pass. Next up, we have Big Boy Clown. I was originally thinking B tier because I have that much respect for him in chase, but I am going to put him at C tier. He is really good in chase if the bottles are used correctly. Sadly, I think chase is really the only thing he is good at. He's a decent camper because with bottles, if a survivor goes to unhook and he's right behind the survivor, he can throw a bottle at the survivor, which cancels the unhook animation, so he could possibly force another stage if he times it right. But besides that, the big downside, he can't tunnel as easily if the team provides hit tanks. Resilience makes winning 50s a lot easier for survivors on certain filler pallets and harder for him to get a hit. Delaying the only thing he's good at, which is chase. He's pretty easy to pre-run, which can take him away from gens, not allowing him to pressure them as well. And if you pre-run and he has to leave to go back to defend another gen, he's going to be just a slow game that eventually the survivors will win, especially in a 4v1. Pass. He breathes too heavily. I'd hate to hear the entire time we're doing some things. Next up, Spirit. Again, I think this is pretty simple. The entire community, I would think, would put her here. S tier. She's amazing in chase with her phase, can traverse the map quickly, hard to hit tank against her while she's phasing, and the map doesn't really matter, and her add-ons only make her better. Pass. Legion, Leg. One of the most annoying killers to play against, especially anyone who plays 2v8, you would know what I mean, but even though he's annoying to play against, he's only C tier. He is good at getting injuries, he can get info on survivors with his power using Killer's Instinct every time he hits a survivor who's not in mending. The downside is he's very reliant on chase perks to be able to get consistent downs, because outside of power, getting a down on an injured survivor is really hard to get in M1, so a lot of Legions bring Spirit Fury and Enduring. That way they can run through pallets and make sure getting the second hit is a lot easier. He's also very dependent on add-ons, because if you bring the Eerie add-on that breaks pallets, it makes shredding through pallets a lot easier. Coordinated teams will spread out, making it hard to get multiple hits, and they can coordinate hit tanks during his power if played correctly. If you are hit by the power, or the first survivor hit by the power, if you know where a teammate is and the teammate can loop back toward you, you could take the hit while he's in power, and it cancels or ends his power, meaning he can't get as much pressure on everybody else. He can't tunnel well since his power can't get downs. The only thing it does tunneling wise is take the perks like Dead Hard and Off the Record away. Pass. Next up, the Puking Lady. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this. I feel like the community has her a lot higher than me, but I have her down here. Outside of the killers with traps, this is really the first chest killer of the tier list. And I say that because if you hold a 3-gen, she could be more powerful. But even then, the kind of 3-gen she can get is RNG based. If she gets a 3-gen that's not tiny, it's a lot harder for her to hold it. If you don't hold a 3-gen and survivors never cleanse, you will likely lose. Again, you can win a bunch of games playing nonchalantly with any killer in the game, but chances are that won't be consistent depending on the opponents you get, and that goes for all killers especially. Her Corrupt Purge is amazingly powerful, which is the red purge, but the huge downside is that if survivors never cleanse, which is how you're supposed to play against her by the way, the power does nothing all game, and you're basically just an M1 killer running around against injured survivors. She's heavily reliant on slowdown perks to keep her in the game, something B tier killers and above don't really have to utilize as much. Pass. Next up, Ghosty. I'm going to put him in C tier. I feel like this is pretty simple, whether it's C or D tier. I think he's just somewhere in these tiers. He was D tier for me before the buff he got a while back, but his ability to stalk is a lot easier now from distance, which makes him a lot stronger. He is still M1 only in chase and heavily reliant on add-ons like Olsen's Wallet to get his power back after breaking pallets. Philly is also very reliant for stalking faster. And then the last one, Drop Leg Knife Sheath, allows for speed after exposing a survivor. I feel like every Ghosty I go against has 2 of those 3 add-ons in their build. If he gets a large enough map, it'll be really tough to win without tunneling early or getting a great 3-gen. Smash. Next up, we have George, also known as Demo for the rest of the community, but I like calling him George. I really debated between B or C tier here, and I can really understand if people put him in B. I put him in C, but this is a toss-up for me. I can see the argument either way. He is really good in chase, not really good, he's good in chase. I wouldn't say really good, but good in chase with his shred power, not only for hitting survivors from distance, but also going through pallets very quickly, making late game chases a lot harder for survivors. He could traverse the map with portals, but those portals obviously could be undone by survivors. Not very add-on dependent as far as I know. I really don't know any of his add-ons, to be honest. All I know is like the undetectable ones when he comes out of portals. Like you can extend that besides that, and shred cooldown, I don't really know. He's very fun to play as and against, so that is a good trait for any killer to have. The downside, short filler pallets hinder the use of his power. He's slightly map dependent as a map with lots of windows hurts him like Larry's. Survivors can hit tank well against him as well as disable portals fairly easily, though this does take time away from gens. His power isn't necessarily life-changing, it's just fun to use, but since it's not life/truly game-changing for me, I think he's C tier. Smash. Oni. I feel like this is a pretty simple one, A tier. He's very strong with an insta-down power, allows him to traverse the map quickly. He's not too add-on dependent, they just make him even better. Survivors cannot hit tank against him, otherwise he gets power for free, making tunneling way easier. He's also a very fun killer to play as and against. The downside for Oni is that the game is basically decided on 2 things, the first chase and the first use of power. If the first hit in the first chase takes forever to get, the game can be lost based on gen progress alone. If you lose a gen before getting a hit and not even having power yet, like the game can be lost right there if they have enough progress. Once you get power, if that first use of power doesn't result in a down, then you have to find another hit, and that would just mean the survivors probably already have 3 gens done, and it would be likely very, very difficult for the Oni to come back and win. Luckily for Oni, there's a variety of perks to help that early game go a lot smoother, like Corrupt to keep the gens from getting done, and that doesn't necessarily mean he needs them, but he has them at his disposal. Pass, unfortunately. Deathslinger. I'm going to put him at barely B tier. I debated between B or C, but I have enough respect for his range that I decided to put him in B tier. He is similar to Huntress, but his reload after every shot is what separates the two of them. I think Huntress is high B tier killer, and he's low B. He can't 2-tap as easily as Huntress, and hit tanks are a lot easier to provide. Still have to respect him from distance, and the good slinger mains find every hole to shoot through to get an injury/down. He is still very solid in chase. That's why I think he's B tier, but if someone put him in C tier, I would completely understand. Pass. Next up, Pyramid Head. Against me, when I play Survivor against Pyramid Head, he's S tier. I can't loot the guy, but if I'm really thinking objectively, I'm gonna put him in B tier. His power is really good in chase, both for injuring and tormenting. Hard to hit tank against him with the power having some range, and add to that his ability to tunnel off of cages is amazing. In cages, there's no DS, there's no dead hard, you can't deliverance out of a cage. Like, the cages are really, really good for him tunneling wise. The downside for him, trying to hit survivors on the other side of a structure can take forever. And you know what I'm talking about. Think of like Cowtree on Coldwind. If you drop Cowtree and just run back and forth while he sits on the other side of the pallet, that hit can take forever if he is unable to predict the survivor's pathing correctly. Which brings me to my next point. A lot of his power is based on prediction, which occasionally can backfire if most predictions are wrong. Add to that, he can't traverse the map quickly to pressure gens, so if he has split gens late game, he's in trouble. But again, these are reasons why he's not S or A tier. I still think he's really good in chase, and usually predictions aren't that hard, but they can be if you're not on your game. So that's why I have him at B tier. I forgot to say smash or pass here, so I'll say pass, but also, nobody tell me or old me, but this is a lot longer than 15 minutes. Next up, Blight. Not even going to waste time on this one. We all understand. He's amazing in chase. Speed demon, hard to hit tank against. We all know this. No need to further explain. Easily S tier. Pass. Next up, Twins. I feel like a lot of people don't know about this killer, don't know how good they are because we rarely go against them, but they're up here. They are A tier. They are very good at slugging with Victor, who can traverse the map very quickly. They're not really add-on reliant as far as I know. I went against a Trickster not too long ago with the Black Ward, and the add-ons honestly weren't great. It was just Charlotte being undetectable whenever they came back after Victor was kicked. Very easy to play as, in my opinion. Like, Victor for me was very easy to hit with when I first played him. I played a depth with him, and it was the easiest game I ever played in my life way back in the day. Victor's also a really good camper. Like, if you put Charlotte somewhere not too far away and just be around the hook with Victor, I mean, you could put Victor on the survivor trying to unhook, and then I don't think they can unhook. I don't know that to be true. The downside, trees. Apparently, it's the hardest thing in the world for Victor to hit you when you're running around like a tree that has like the perimeter, or like the, what is it called? The circumference. That has to just be like 2 feet, and apparently Victor can't hit you ever. Survivors jumping locker while injured, not allowing for the slug to take place is also really important. If you are injured, you should hop locker because you would be downed and left on the ground, likely for Victor to go slug and get himself on somebody else. There is a long cooldown for Victor if he is kicked by a survivor after missing a pounce, so you better be able to hit the pounce on a survivor. Pass. Next up, Trickster. He might be annoying to play against, but I'm going to put him down here at D tier. I just don't think he's that good. The only thing he's good at is chase, which even then, there are certain failures that he can't shoot over, which make it really hard to get it down, or really hard to get value out of main event. He's a decent tunneler, since hit tanks equal lots of knives and build up for main event. Most times, though, a Trickster needs survivors to mess up a lot in order to win the game. Pass. Next up, Nemesis, along with Mark and Lindsay. I have him here. I think his buff a while back, I mean, with the increase to his range with his tentacle, the ability to just shred through pallets, I think he is a super strong killer now. His chase is amazing, especially since he can get out of tier 1 pretty easily in just 2 hits. And the ease at which he can get hits put him in this tier for me. This is a little RNG, but zombies do change the game. I feel like they harass me all the time on gens, but when I play Nemi, I also see them putting in some work for me as well. I know a lot of people are going to say, the zombies never do anything for me, but I feel like people aren't paying attention when the zombies do work. Like, if you're in an intense chase, the zombies could be stopping a gen across the map and you have no idea. The downside, he does have to run across the entire map. If survivors get a very favorable map for chase like Disturbed Ward, Eyrie of Crows, Garden of Joy, there's nothing he can really do. I played a Disturbed Ward game like a week or two ago, and I could not get it down. Everybody was insane in chase, but also they got really good loops. That map has really good loops, so my point is really good loops against him are really, really tough for him to get power. Zombies can also be useless occasionally. They're not always useless, but occasionally, so I do feel some people's pain when they don't do anything. If the first chase is not great, getting out of tier 1 can take a while and gens could fly. Overall, A tier and smash. Pinhead. I came to realize that I believe he is a B tier killer. He's good in chase with the chain as long as you learned it properly. If you can keep constant pressure on the box, he becomes very difficult to progress gens against, which wins him the game more often. By the way, I have learned you can actually start to predict where the box is going to be if you play Pinhead long enough. Meaning if you keep pressure on that, it's going to be really hard to do gens, like I said. Downside. Without his top tier add-ons, he'd be a C tier killer. Original Pain, putting you in mending, allows for easier tunneling. Eerie Fang injures you upon contact if you're healthy. And Impaling Wire punishes survivors for using the environment to break chains by giving more chains. Without those, he's an entirely different killer. But I face those add-ons every single game, which for me, I have to take into consideration since it's always there, and that's why I put him in B tier. If survivors can do the box early and the Pinhead doesn't find it, it can rarely see value because all of a sudden he has to go chase survivors. And if he goes to pressure the box and leave his tunneled survivor, you have a 4v1 late in the game, which can be really hard to win against. He's also easy to pre-run, and the chain hits can be inconsistent if the survivor sees it coming. Pass. Artista. I think she's one of the best A tier killers in the game. She is really good in chase as long as you are patient with the birds. She can get great info on what gens are being worked on without using perks like barbecue or any other aura reading perks from afar, while also making survivors have to get rid of the birds to avoid being injured if you use them again. Mostly just really good in chase as downs can be very quick and like I said, great info. Downside, very reliant on slowdown perks since she has to run across the entire map and she can't move across it quickly like S tier killers can. Survivors can junk blocker to get rid of the birds quicker if you hit them from afar. Hit tanks aren't too hard to execute, but if you put a bird down to try and hit both survivors, they could just both veer out of the way, and if the hit tank is good enough, you have to slot the one who's giving the hit tank. Overall, like I said, very, very good in chase. Good for knowing where survivors are around the map, just sending birds to gens far away, and I think this puts her at A tier. Pass. Onryo. I feel like this is a pretty simple one, D tier for me. Only time you should lose to an Onryo is because that person mains her and plays her a lot. If you don't go against an Onryo main, you likely will win the game. The only way to really get survivors uncomfortable as this killer is never allowing them to grab tapes by continuously teleporting. But if you turn off every TV, they can't get condemned as much. Her passive phase in chase can confuse survivors at times, but in reality, she still isn't great in chase. She's just M1 with the ability to disappear every now and then. And sometimes if a survivor just makes a prediction and if they get it right, then the passive phase did nothing. The good thing for her is you can't hit tank against her if she wants to tunnel, but at the same time, if she's tunneling with a regular M1 chase, that chase will likely take a while, allowing gens to progress. Pass. Gregory. I debated C or D tier, and I hate to say it, but I put him in D tier. I love Greg, and he is fun to play as and against, but he's just not that good. If he puts his power down in a loop, a survivor can just leave the loop if possible. Not always possible. Like if you're on the corner of the map, you kind of have to stay, or if the remnant is placed in the right spot on a loop, you can't really leave. But if it's placed in the wrong spot, you can just connect the loops properly and go to the next one. And when he uses the remnant, he slows down. I mean, it's just kind of easy for survivors to loop. The main upside to him is Nightfall, which is still primarily useful indoors, not necessarily outdoors. And to get Nightfall, you have to get injuries or sit in lockers a lot. And if you sit in lockers a lot, gens are getting done. And since you're an M1 killer, with the teleport working every now and then, it might be hard to get hits, delaying Nightfall. Lockers also make a loud noise when he exits them, alerting the nearby survivors. The only reason I debated C tier was because it can be very hard to see anything in Nightfall for console players. Reshade takes care of that problem on PC, but if I'm basing my ranking on Reshade, which was not one of my determinants as to where these killers were going to go, then this guy has to stay down in D tier for me. Pass. There's nothing he offers waist down. Albert. I think you know what I'm going to be saying on the last part of this, but before I get there, I have him at B tier. He is also a very fun killer to play as, and for me, I love playing against him. He's a good tunneler with Tunneled Survivor eventually gaining hindered, assuming you use power in the first chase and actually hit a bound at some point. If the Hug tech is mastered, he can be nasty on certain loops and go up to even A tier. The problem is Hug tech is really hard to master. The downside is there's so many sprays around the map to get uninfected, so if you do not tunnel your survivor off the hook right away, if you go to tunnel them later, they may not be infected. Not every loop is Hug techable. There are some loops that just have too many things sticking out that you can get stuck on. It's easy to pre-run him with a big tear radius. There are certain pallets his power isn't great on, though that can be said for just about any killer's power. Partially reliant on add-ons to change his bound distances, and Egg is really popular to hold power up for longer. I think he is high B tier, but I don't think he's good enough to be A. Hard smash. Next up, we get into some of the main chest killers in the game, these three right here. What do I mean by chest killers? Well, I'm going into this thinking about how well these three can hold 3 gens against 4 survivors. Since tunneling is something they rarely do, nor are any of them great at it. Really the best one I would think of tunneling is Singularity. It'd be him or Knight, and we'll get into that in a second. We start off with Knight. I am going to put Senor Knight at B tier. The buff he got a while back to his guards have made him way better. Before, you would have to wait to get Carnifex. For example, you would get Carnifex and then have to use the other 2 guards before you got him back. Now, like Vecna, you could choose which power you want to use. The Jailer and Assassin are really good for the chase purposes or keeping survivors occupied while you do other things like harass other survivors, while also being able to have Carnifex for breaking pallets quickly is excellent, especially since he can choose who he wants to use. Of these 3 chest killers, he's the one that doesn't have to rely on 3 gens the most, especially since the buff, but he is still able to hold them well. The downside, he always has a ton of bugs, which make him not so fun to play. He can't tunnel well since a teammate can take the guard from a tunneled survivor, and that means he has to chase the tunnel survivor with an M1 or completely switch to the person who took the guard. Chase-wise, if a survivor is able to pass where the Knight is running along with the guard, meaning somehow if you can get the Knight to run in lockstep with the guard, you can have the guard's timer go down a lot quicker, which allows you to get back to M1 chase. Overall, he's solid in chase and good at holding 3 gens, but he's not too strong. I don't think he's A tier worthy. Pass. Next up, Skull Merchant, and thankfully, she's down here. She can barely hold 3 gens now compared to previous times. We all know when she first came out how much fun it was to go against her with 3 gens. Her drones aren't great now, though you can manually control their rotation as Merchant. She doesn't move well, and her drones take a while to injure you if you play it right with crouching, or if they have to go all the way around and you don't play it right by having it go back to hit the survivor. Hit tanking is not difficult against her, and she's really only good on indoor maps with the ability to be undetectable through drones. She's just not great anymore, thankfully, because before she was a really good killer and really hard to play against, and no one would ever want to play more than 2 minutes against her. Hopefully, her next rework makes her more fun to play as and against. I really feel like that's what they should be aiming with every killer from now on. Hard pass. Next up, Science Man. For me, he's B tier. He is the strongest of these 3 chest killers. The biopods offer great info, but slipstreams can be inconsistent, sometimes not getting survivors because your camera is blocked by a pixel. In chase though, he feels really good, but he's easier to pre-run if survivors play the long game and choose to EMP over and over until they finish the gens. If you choose not to play a 3 gen, you have to be really good in chase, otherwise you are at the mercy of the survivors. Pass. Next up, we have Alien. Alien, I kind of struggle with. I struggle playing against him. He's really good against me, kind of like Pyramid Head, but at the same time, I have to think objectively, and he's honestly really just a C tier killer. He is really good in chase if he's always able to remain in power, but if survivors put 2 turrets next to each other and bring the alien to them, there's nothing Alien can do. If you break one turret and not the other one, you're just going to get completely burned out of power, and it takes a while for you to get your power back. Fortunately, this usually only happens with coordinated groups, but the fact that you can lose power quickly and not have it for a while is really concerning. Plus, even with good chases, if survivors are gen efficient, the game will still be really difficult to win. I still think his movement around the map and good chaseability keeps him out of D tier. The ability to go into tunnels and have undetectability and go around the map pretty quickly, that keeps him out of D tier for me. Pass. Now we've got Charles, the tallest killer in the game. Teehee. Unfortunately for him, even though he is fun to play as and I think he's fun to play against, I have him down here. He's basically a better pig. Think of Amanda, but a much better version of her, but still not having the ability to go to C tier. His slice and dice is not as hard to play against as it once was, allowing for longer chases. He still is really good with stealth, but his lap as he approaches gives survivors just enough time sometimes to find safety. His slice and dice is still pretty good, and add the stealth on top, he can surprise you on any map, especially with his tiny size. Unfortunately, he stays in D tier because he's very add-on dependent, and a coordinated team can call out his positions on outdoor maps easier, eliminating his stealth. Pass. It's a doll. Why would I? Cute man. Cute man, I really wanted to put him in A tier. I really love going against him. I really love playing as him. But I sadly have to bring him down to here. He's really good in chase from up close and range, can outplay you on short loops as well as long loops if they're patient enough. Really good camper. He can patrol near the hook while also shooting projectiles to the nearby gens. And if he hits a survivor on the nearby gen, they get weakened and they can't lose the weakened, otherwise they'd have to go toward him and not pressure the gen. Add to that, if the survivors die in the wrong spot and he's deciding to play a 3-gen, he has that to fall back on late game, which is really hard to win 3v1 for survivors. He can also tunnel really well if he shoots the tunnel survivor with a projectile as they get unhooked, not allowing for teammates to body block against the projectiles. He can also choose where he leaves teleports. If you spam right click and don't shoot a projectile, you can leave a clone really wherever you want. So you can have a clone right near your unhook or right near the hook if you want. If a survivor gets rid of that clone, he knows they're nearby, so it's good for info. And if they don't get rid of it, it's just a free teleport to get back to the hook or the gen, wherever he wanted that thing to be. The downside, the clones being deactivated while he's busy can make him have to wait to be able to put one there again, or just not be able to pressure that part of the map. With the projectiles being very inconsistent and not easy to hit, a lot of the positives won't be possible. But if you play him a lot, you eventually can almost master the projectile. Like I said earlier, very fun to play as and against. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's enough to put him over the hump, but a high B tier killer for me. Smash. Vecna. I also have him in B tier. He's another fun killer to play as and against. His spells synergize really well with the ability to move around the map, hold up pallets, hit you if you're not careful with the skeletons, and also take your abilities from chests away with the sphere. Plus, going back to that sphere, if he uses it in chase, survivors can't outplay the mage hand if they have the mage hand ability, which gives them 7% haste for 3 seconds. Or is it 3% haste? I think it's 7% haste. Whatever it is. I think it is 7%. The downside to Vecna, he's not the best in chase. You have to be precise and accurate with your skeletons, and a hit is still not guaranteed if a survivor can see it coming, especially since they can see when Vecna switches to a different spell, and usually you can see what spell he switches to depending on his hand movement. He's also very add-on dependent to get his spells back quicker with the blue and the green add-on that allow you to get them back when you hit survivors, or just make the cooldowns lower than normal with the blue add-on. I still think he's a good chaser, and as survivors continuously pre-drop, he can play hit and run with the fly spell, having a short cooldown, getting rid of all the resources, making late game harder for survivors. Pass. I feel like a skeleton might tickle me randomly while we're doing the action. Dracula. I have him in A tier, and I feel like that's for most people. I suck cheeks with him, but he's still very strong. He's a mixture of Spirit, Wesker, and Pyramid Head all rolled into one, with bats allowing for movement around the map like Spirit, also not being able to see survivors. Hellfire's attack just like Pyramid Head's M2 ability with his sword, and then the wolf form has 2 leaps like Wesker when he uses his bounds. These abilities allow him to be one of the best chase killers in the game, while also creating pressure around the map with bats, as he's able to teleport near a gen, kick the gen with the slowdown perk, then return back to the hook to camp/tunnel if he is doing that. He is also very good with trading on the hook, occasionally denying the unhook if Hellfire is timed right, or the survivor might make a mistake, also not allowing for the unhook. If the unhook does take place and Hellfire hasn't been used before the unhook happens, Dracula can down the survivor unhooking after M1ing them, while also putting the unhook survivor into mending, so you can get 2 injuries against those 2 survivors, and that also means most anti-tunnel perks besides DS wouldn't do anything for the survivor just coming off of the hook. The downside to Dracula, his power is not the easiest to use. Again, I suck cheeks with him whenever I play with him, and if the person playing Dracula isn't on point with them, survivors could make getting downs really difficult. If survivors die away from gens, it makes camping kind of useless for him, since gens would all just get progress leading to the end game. He's also very add-on dependent. Lapis Lazuli, the purple add-on that blocks windows after teleporting with bats, is used by most Draculas, along with the hindered add-on when they teleport to a window. Without those, chases are not nearly as easy, even though he's still a good chase killer. Imagine having Bamboozle and 4 gen slowdown perks. Lapis Lazuli basically offers that for Draculas. Overall, great in chase, great map movement, just too add-on dependent as well as more counterable in chase than the S tier killers. So for me, high A tier. Smash. But only in wolf form. I don't want any part with the bats or the big man. Snuggles and Portia. I'm gonna put them in A tier as well. Portia is a killer who has a good chase, but I wouldn't say great. Everything else she can do though is excellent. She can send Snug, the dog, to gens, hooks, and random spots with her search, and that speed she gets while doing this allows her to stop survivors from doing gens, healing, cleansing totems, or even just to go tunnel. Add to that, Snug's chase ability allows him to grab survivors looking to take a hit for their teammate who might get tunneled, meaning it's hard to hit tech against her. Camping-wise, she can send Snug at the hook, preventing the unhook from happening, meaning the only way to unhook requires a 2-man save, which takes time away from pressuring gens. The downside to these two: in chase, if a survivor hears the chase whistle at a pallet, they can just wait until they get hit by the dog to drop the pallet, guaranteeing Snug won't injure them. Now, if it's a tiny 4-lane pallet, then Portia would likely get the injury. But my point is, if you're on one side of the pallet and the killer's on the other, if she's waiting to send Snug at you, just wait until the dog hits you to drop the pallet on him, and then she has to break the pallet or mind game you, delaying the down. She also relies on hindering add-ons with Snug that make chases a lot easier. If she doesn't have this, it's a lot easier to get away after she hits you once. Hits with Snug and Chase are also inconsistent. Survivors can either see it coming or just trying to predict where they're going can also be really difficult. She is still a very strong killer with the search, but has a bunch of bugs with the dog as well. And overall, I don't think she's good enough to be S tier, but she's also not bad enough to be B tier. Pass. And last but certainly not least, since I think he's the hot topic right now, what tier is Kaneki? I know 99.5% of the community has him up here. I don't think he's S tier. I think he's right below it. He is a very strong killer in chase, especially since the first hit comes for free without his power. Not with his power. His power is what's the problem. His power with the first hit, you really can't avoid it. It's just an easy hit. However, I don't think it's S tier worthy. Here is why. Once he injures someone, that second hit is the problem, especially if survivors save their exhaust perk for after they get injured. He's still a really good movement killer. He can camp the hook, get traits from 40 plus meters away, has the ability to cancel power whenever he wants, and do it quickly, which makes it really strong for him to down you in the open, making the ability to connect loops very difficult, which is the main reason why the community has a problem with him outside of the first hit. Imagine you're on like a tiny pallet and then, or not a tiny pallet, you're somewhere and then you're trying to make it to Shaq after he breaks the pallet, but then he could just use one, what is it called? I'm going to call it a bound. I know it's not called a bound. It's a leap. He uses one leap and then catches up to you and just cancels power immediately, and you have no chance at making the window of Shaq or wherever you're trying to go, and he just gets a free down. The canceling the power and how quickly you cancel it, I think is what the community really dislikes, as well as the ability to get a free first hit. The downside, like I said with Kaneki, is that the second hit can take forever, and if a survivor plays loops well, the team will have enough time to do gens while they get tunneled. Add to that, if he gets an indoor map, that literally takes his ability to camp from a distance away significantly, but not completely. But what I mean is, you can get a map like Garden of Joy, for example, and he can sit on the roof basically and just look around the entire map, and once you start going for the unhook against him, he can just drop off the roof and get to the hook in 2 seconds. But on an indoor map, that is not the case. If you have a map like Larry's or a map like Hawkins has a lot of long hallways, so I wouldn't say Hawkins, but a map like Larry's. What's another indoor map? I don't know. I'm not thinking of them right now. I know there's the game, there's Larry's, there's Midwich, there we go. It was the game. I was thinking the game. Like, line of sight's not as easy, which allows survivors to get unhooks a lot easier. And if you think about it, on an indoor map, his power's not as good because he can't just go around the entire map. He'll bump into a bunch of things, basically turning him into an M1 killer on an indoor map, which most certainly cannot mean S tier if you're an M1 killer. There's no M1 killer in the game without like great speed that is S tier. Like if you look at Freddy and Spirit, literally Freddy's chase to slow you down kind of makes him a speed killer because you're getting slowed down. Overall, Kaneki is still very strong in many facets, but his struggles at times in chase isn't S tier worthy. Plus, he has some broken add-ons like the window blocking add-on or the add-on that makes survivors scream when he hooks them. And if he doesn't bring those, the game is quite different. Pass. Unless it's Rise. If it's Rise, smash. And that concludes my tier list as a survivor main with 2,000 hours. I know there are going to be some rankings that people disagree with. That is completely fine. I do not mind disagreements. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below if you like. Don't leave hate comments towards me or each other. That would result in offensive language being used, as I definitely won't respond to those, and I'd hope you guys wouldn't fight over killer rankings in the comments. If you stayed this far into the video, I really do appreciate you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you sometime further on in this channel.